What's up, fellas? Taking a recommendation by one of my subs who said that the music was distracting. So I'm going to try without it this time. The other day, when I was on BGS's panel, one of the days, no, I think it was all 3 days, there was a guy on there who came up who kept saying that the vaccines are dangerous. And he kept saying that there were papers that supported his notion that all of the vaccines that are currently available are dangerous to the public, and there's some kind of conspiracy to basically give this dangerous substance to everyone for what he considers to be a non-existent problem. Excuse me. So the person that he ended up trying to reference was this Dr. Dan Stock. And he gave a speech at a Mount Vernon school board meeting, and his video went viral. So, yeah, I hate to say I told you so, but I have to say I told you so. It's just one of those cases, where
just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
So I had to address this. Because we tried to get him to listen to reason, to try to get him to go through the thought process and the information in a way that was logical, but he wasn't able to do that. And I don't know who this individual is. I can't remember his name, but he kept trying. He kept saying the same thing. This was his main point, was that these that these vaccines were dangerous. So, PolitiFact hit him up like the next day. Now, this guy, was saying that the surge in COVID-19 cases is caused by antibody-mediated viral enhancement from the COVID-19 vaccines, and lies, as you can see. Here's another, excerpt from a doctor who listened to what this guy had to say. And, he said the arguments made by this doctor are a mixture of true, false, and irrelevant, and contradict the evolving consensus of board-certified specialists in pediatrics, virology, infectious disease, immunology, and epidemiology. He presents a seemingly convincing case, but on closer inspection, key elements of Stock's argument do not hold up. And this is like all over the internet. And this guy's been completely destroyed. And we're going to take a closer look at who Dr. Dan Stock is. So here's the one of the stories that was talking about, Dr. Stock and his position about the vaccines. Okay, so they took a look at Stock and his history, and they said that he is Dan Stock is a verified doctor from Indiana with 33 years of experience, having first graduated at Indiana University School of Medicine in 1988. He describes himself as a functional family medicine physician and claims he is specially trained in immunology and inflammation regulation. As per Google, he currently works at Pure Health Functional Medicine in Noblesville, Indiana, and his LinkedIn bio reads, experienced family experienced family physician with functional integrative medicine training and interests, 30 plus years of family medicine practice, no longer affiliated with third-party payment systems, so that I can provide the highest degree of advance driven by in-depth biochemical and anatomic analysis, not protocols. My interest is in the biochemical difference between the patient when healthy and when sick, and the fastest/least expensive path from illness to health as the patient defines. As the patient defines it. Let me say, y'all, that sounds crazy. Okay, most of the time when people don't, people like him don't associate themselves with third-party payments is because they won't pay them for the snake oils that they're selling. And it looks like Dr. Stock moved from credentialed medicine over to the witch doctor side. That's what it looks like here. And let's go on and look a little bit. Here's his face. Here's what he looks like here. Okay. And there are mixed reviews from patients who claim they have been seen by Daniel with a 4.2/5 star rating on vitals.com. Out of the 18 reviews, only 2 reviews have comments, however, and they both read negatively with 1 star. One review from 2019 mentioned beware, he has had a prior malpractice case against him, and his opinion is not looked upon very highly. Okay, says the malpractice mentioned in the above comment can be backed by published Indiana court records from 2006. The court order states that Dr. Daniel Stock breached his duty of care to one Violet Huggins by failing to act with the degree of skill processed and exercised by a reasonably careful, skillful, and prudent practitioner of general practice/family practice medicine, treating such maladies under the same or similar circumstances. Over the years, 1997 to 1998. In conclusion, the court documents a judgment of $774,000 plus cost of this action was awarded in favor of one Huggins due to Dr. Stock's negligence and carelessness. That's pretty bad, y'all. It's pretty bad. And family medicine is come on. That's not that hard. That's not surgery. That's not, more advanced, levels of practice. That's pretty much basics. And he can't do that. Okay. The Indiana doctor has hit the headlines this week after he spoke about COVID-19 at the Mount Vernon School Board. In a 6-minute clip, Dan gives his opinion on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, and is giving counterproductive advice about the pandemic. And that's being nice. Let's move on to the next one here. Indiana doctor busted for peddling potentially dangerous lies about COVID-19 to school boards. Okay. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but, kids are supposed to be protected by adults, and especially people who are in positions, especially with regard to medicine. These kids need our protection. They don't need lies. They don't need, political positions that may put them that they may not even understand. They don't even support. They're too young to even be dealing with any of that. But this guy is putting this out here to the parents, scaring the parents to death about this, to the point to where even, you can see in this photo, it's hit or miss. One child has a mask on, the other one doesn't. Some wash their hands, some don't. It's hit or miss. As I said before, it's just free balling. Everybody just free balls it around, just goes around, and they're just going around with no protection and just doing their own thing, which, that is counterproductive for us and what we want as a society. We want everything to open back up. We want everything to work as it has in the past, so we can go on back, to some semblance of normality. But people like this are preventing that from happening. This really, it frustrates me to no end. Having to, having to address this. Anybody with common sense should be able to dissect this, and I don't understand why people prefer snake oil to real medicine. And it's getting old, and it's getting old quick. To what degree do we continue to allow people to peddle false information and get people killed and get people sick? That's my question. And I'm sure that same question is plaguing, those of you who are listening to this, who are reasonably minded about the data and about, what we're looking at. You can either stare the truth in the face, or you can act like the world is cotton candy, balloons, and, rose petals. But that's not what it is. So let's move on here. We'll look into this a little bit more. On Wednesday, the Indianapolis Star reported that Dr. Dan Stock, a physician who went viral after he spoke to the Mount Vernon School Board about COVID-19, riddled his speech with false and misleading claims about the pandemic and the efficacy of safe measures against it. Stock's most explosive false claim is that the COVID-19 vaccines are causing more infections, when the vast majority of experts say that the increase is being caused by the more highly contagious Delta variant. They left out some words here. So this is a statement by one of the doctors. My jaw kind of hit the floor. Dr. Gabriel Bosslet, associate professor of clinical medicine at Indiana University School of Medicine, told the Indianapolis Star. He looked really credible, and he sounded really credible. He used language that sounded intelligent. It's just that the substance of what he was saying was honestly just patently false, especially the stuff about the vaccine. The Star reported also examined Stock's credentials and his other controversial beliefs. Stock said he is a functional medicine doctor, the kind of medicine that looks for the root cause of diseases and illnesses, said the report. An archived version of his website shows a preoccupation with vitamins and other alternative treatments for everything from cancer to autism. While he has an Indiana medical license, he doesn't appear to be board certified. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Okay. A higher level of medical credential in family medicine, internal medicine, and any other specialty. Stock is one of a number of doctors who have earned fame in the right-wing communities for aligning with their narrative. One such doctor in Houston, Stella Emanuel of the right-wing group America's Frontline Doctors, agreed with Trump's unproven belief in taking the malaria drug hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID. Emanuel also believes that modern medicine uses alien DNA, that the government is run by lizard people, and that Americans are getting sickened by having sex with literal demons from hell. Wow. That's who we're dealing with here. Okay, let's move on to the next article here. And again, PolitiFacts. No evidence that COVID-19 is causing the summer surge of COVID-19 cases. Okay. Okay, we'll skip the video part, but the video has gone viral, like I said, on Facebook. Okay, the video shared in Facebook post like this one was flagged as part of Facebook's effort. Oh, so they're taking him down. So they're taking down his video because it's blatantly and patently false. So this is part of Facebook's efforts to combat false news and misinformation on its news feed. Okay, the antibody-dependent enhancement, as it is more commonly known, is a real but rare phenomenon in which people who are vaccinated can experience more severe symptoms if they are later infected by a virus or the virus. Okay, what is borne out this summer is the opposite of what Stocks claims. Okay, the vast majority of people who are hospitalized because of COVID-19 or die from it have not been vaccinated. I'll say that again, have not been vaccinated. I want you to let that sink in. All the people who are passing from this and who are getting very, very ill is because they weren't vaccinated. Okay? There is no evidence that the antibody-dependent enhancement is responsible for the surge, said Dr. David Reelman, a professor in medicine, microbiology, and immunology at Stanford University. All epidemiological data on this surge from across the United States and the world clearly show that this surge is happening in non-vaccinated people. He said, furthermore, vaccinated people with breakthrough Delta variant infections have less severe disease than non-vaccinated people with the Delta infections. Okay. Here's what Stock said. Stock spoke at the August 6th meeting at the school board. Let's skip that part. Okay, he said that he was especially trained in immunology and inflammation regulation. First, he said that recommendations from the CDC and the Indiana Board of Health are actually contrary to all rules of science. Now, he's going against his health board. I don't even know how this guy is still maintaining his license. The Hippocratic Oath says to do no harm, okay? And, I think this guy, should be looked at. Because he is clearly doing harm by advising people and using his credentials to advise people to do something that is contradictory to every other certifying body anywhere in the United States and his state where he holds his license. This is crazy. Stocks made his claim about the condition that is called antibody-mediated viral enhancement. That is a condition done when vaccines work wrong. A vaccine that is done the wrong way for a respiratory virus, stock continue, causes the immune system to actually fight the virus wrong and lets the virus become worse than it would with native infection. And that is why you are seeing this outbreak now. Stock, who sells supplements on his website, did not respond to a voicemail message. His voicemail greeting said research information he gave to the school board is on a blog for the Hancock County, Indiana Patriots, a group that says it advocates for the liberty and other conservative issues like guns, life, guns, medical freedom, etc. Wow. This is who they expect us to listen to. Okay, let's go on down here. And this guy spent 3 days bringing this guy up, referencing the papers that this guy was trying to reference. And we'll go into that a little bit later. Okay, Melissa Brown, professor of microbiology and immunology at Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine, said that people who are vaccinated, if they get sick, generally have mild disease. If antibody-dependent enhancement were playing a major role, we would expect the vaccinated to be sicker. The reason for the new outbreaks is the Delta variant, and it is much more contagious. So it is spreading like wildfire in unvaccinated individuals, not in vaccinated people. Some statistics to consider. Some of this is some of the same stuff I've been telling you guys. So more than 164 million people in the United States have been fully vaccinated. And based on reports from 49 states and territories, there are 7,525 breakthrough cases in which the person was hospitalized or died, according to the latest figures from the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That comes out to less than 1/100th of 1%. Okay. So when they're talking about breakthrough cases, what they're talking about is a person who is immunized and still gets the disease. Okay. So they're showing you how rare that is for, out of all these people who have been vaccinated, that you still get the disease and you die. That's how rare it is. Okay. So according to a nonprofit Kaiser Family Foundation, among 25 states that report data on breakthrough cases, hospitalization rates among fully vaccinated people range from effectively 0% to 0.06%, and death rates range from effectively 0% to 0.1%. Okay? Death rates were 0 to 0.1%. Almost non-existent. Okay, 7 states, including some with the lowest rates of people who are actually vaccinated, account for about half of the new cases and hospitalizations in the previous week. The White House said at a briefing on August the 5th, they include Florida, which is at 49.7% fully vaccinated, Texas, 44.6% vaccinated, Missouri, 42.3% vaccinated, and Arkansas, 37.7% vaccinated, Louisiana, 37.7% vaccinated, Alabama, 35%, Mississippi, 35.2%. As of August 10th, according to the Mayo Clinic, 50.5% of the U.S. population is fully vaccinated. Would you look at those states? And then I want you to look at what the position of the governors of those states were about this, the vaccine, getting vaccinated, wearing masks, where they're still fighting to try to legally block people from issuing mask mandates, making the people have to wear masks so that they can protect themselves. And my, opinion is no different than you wearing a seatbelt. But these people aren't even medically qualified to even make these determinations, but they're doing it. And then some of them are even backtracking on the mask mandate, like my governor. And he says, well, the numbers weren't that high last time, but the numbers are high now. So, I regret, signing off on, the bill. But again, like I said before, leadership is supposed to be proactive and not retroactive. If we act after they blow up the bridge, what's kind of the point? You're just retaliating. You're not preventing the bridge from being blown up. You know what I mean? So, this is not rocket science. It's really not, y'all. So let's go on down. Okay. Dr. Matthew Lawrence, a pediatric professor at the University of Maryland School of Medicine and faculty member of its Center for Vaccine Development and Global Health, said people who are vaccinated are much less likely to experience enhanced disease that would cause them to be hospitalized, admitted to the intensive care, or die. We also have evidence that the Delta variant is more likely to spread in communities with low vaccination rates, which provides additional proof that vaccines are not enhancing virus spread, but are actually slowing it down. Okay? So when he talks about these unvaccinated communities, who do you think he's talking about? He's talking about us. He's talking about black folks. Black folks are going to be gutted by the spread of this disease because people are listening to false propaganda, probably to do the very thing that it's doing, to prevent you people from getting vaccinated, to prevent us from getting vaccinated. You need to think about that. People are trying to prevent you from voting, and these same people are trying to prevent you from believing that you need to be vaccinated. If you're dead, you can't vote. Nor do you care anything about anything. I'm saying give yourself a fighting chance to do what you want to do. To protect your families. To protect yourself. If you're a hotep, take the vaccine so that you can continue to do hotep things. If you're a Herbalife guy or whatever, take the vaccine so you can continue to, love plants. It's not that hard. So let's move on to the next one. This one is a lot more in depth. So here he is at the Mount Vernon school here. You see, ain't none of us out there, but he's talking to, preaching to the choir, about how much more he knows than the CDC. Okay. We don't skip this. We're just going to go straight to the questions. Is the coronavirus spread by aerosol particles, which are small enough to go through every mask? Stock made this claim about 15 times into the school board meeting. Okay. Here's the sources that they referenced right here. These are reputable sources, y'all. Okay. Reputable sources. Okay. Talk to the assistant clinical professor of medicine in University of Colorado Auschwitz Medical Campus. New England Journal of Medicine. Multiple studies referenced by Stock, multiple studies cited by the CDC. The answer: this is partially true, but needs context to prevent correct information from yielding a false conclusion. COVID-19 can be transmitted through large droplets. Now, BGS talked about this, trying to explain this to the guy. We both tried to, get this guy to understand what's the mechanism or the vector by which, this virus enters your system or exits your system to infect someone else. Okay, let's go back to that. COVID-19 can be transmitted through large droplets, or they can dehydrate and linger as droplet nuclei in the air, where they behave like an aerosol, according to the New England Journal of Medicine. The aerosol could still pass through a mask, but masks slow the spread of the coronavirus. Okay, says what we found. Dr. Payal Kohli at the University of Colorado Auschwitz Medical Campus verified the claims Stock made were partially true. There's two ways in which the virus can spread, through the large droplets, and these are large droplets. When we talk, laugh, or sing, the small little bits of saliva come out. Those usually tend to fall kind of closer to the ground. The other is the small aerosols, Kohli said. Think of it like a suspended virus particle in the air, almost like smoke. It just kind of floats around. So the simple cloth masks are actually quite effective at preventing droplet transmission because they catch those droplets, number one, so they prevent you from emitting them out to somebody else. And then number two, they serve as a barrier of protection from somebody else receiving those droplets, Kohli said. Now, just like cigarette smoke, you could be wearing a mask and still smell the cigarette smoke because those aerosols, which can suspend in the air, can get through the simple surgical mask. But the N95 respirators do offer superior protection against both aerosols as well as those droplets. She continued, that's why I've been telling you guys, ever since I've been talking about this, to continue to wear the N95 respirators and not the regular surgical mask, not the cloth mask, not the mask that everybody's peddling on Facebook with all the sparkly, glittery stuff on it. Not that. But the actual mask that is rated to protect against viral transmission. And that's the N95 respirators. Okay. Stock provided the Mount Vernon School Board with studies that said support his contention that masks do not provide protection against the transmission of the tiny COVID-19 particles. Verify, which is this dude's agency, reviewed those studies. While some do raise questions about the effectiveness of the mask, others are inconclusive. One of the studies cited by Stock has been retracted by the medical journal that published it because the publisher determined the study misquotes and selectively cites published papers. After a broader review of the science of scientific studies, the journal reported high-quality masks worn properly do effectively reduce the transmission of COVID-19. Other studies cited by the CDC came to the same conclusion. Properly worn masks are effective in slowing and significantly reducing the spread of coronavirus. There it is. So that shot down a big piece of, this individual who was going at BGS on his show about whether masks protect us or not. And the consensus across the board is, yes, they do. And the evidence, as cited, states that, yes, they do. And I'll add this story down here into the link so that you can, hit the sources and read them yourself. Okay, here's the other question. Do vaccines cause the immune system to become deranged? Can COVID-19 vaccines cause the immune system to become deranged? Stock made this claim about 16 times. So he likes the number 16. Okay, so there are the sources. The FDA, Dr. Boslett, Indiana University School of Medicine, and Dr. Coley, Professor of Medicine, University of Colorado, Auschwitz Medical Campus. Okay, the answer. Immune derangement is the small risk of your immune system misbehaving after getting a vaccine. Coley told Verify, there is a very small chance of this happening and can happen with any vaccine. What we found, or what they found, is Coley said, in a very small percentage of people, the immune system can overreact to misbehave slightly after receiving a vaccination. For example, she said a very small percentage of people who received a vaccine suffered from autoimmune conditions or myocarditis. But the likelihood of that happening, particularly with this vaccine, which has now been given to 2.3 billion people, and we've only seen a very, very, very tiny signal occurring in select populations, is very, very low, Coley said. According to a July release from the USDA, after 12.5 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccines were administered, there were 100 cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome. Wow. That's pretty low. 12.5 million doses and 100 cases of Guillain-Barré. Okay? Okay, each year, in the United States, an estimated 3,000 to 6,000 people develop Guillain-Barré syndrome. Most people fully recover from the disorder. Guillain-Barré has also been observed at an increased rate associated with certain vaccines, including certain seasonal influenza vaccines and a vaccine to prevent shingles. The release said, no similar signals have been identified with the Moderna or Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccines. The FDA continues to work with its partner in vaccine safety surveillance, the CDC, to monitor reports of Guillain-Barré. Following vaccinations with the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine, importantly, the FDA has evaluated the available information on the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine and continues to find the known and potential benefits clearly outweigh the known and potential risk, the FDA said. Okay. Dr. Boslett, an ICU physician at the Indiana University Health, calls Stock's comments about immune derangement caused by the COVID-19 vaccine nonsense, backed by no data. We have a natural study of billions of people in the world who've gotten this vaccine who don't have deranged immune systems. I can tell you they don't have deranged immune systems because they're not in the hospital with COVID, he said. Okay, now I'd say that BGS told you so, but he told you so. And that's the exact same thing that he and I both said. I mean, he's saying, well, there've been no trials. There've been no trials. Yes, there were trials before. And here is the final biggest trial ever done in the history of man. Billions of people have gotten this vaccine. And they have data from billions of people, not from the average, 1,000 to 10,000 people. They have billions. So then the question that BGS asked, and that I ask as well, is more better? Is more information better? The obvious answer is yes. Okay, on to the next question. Can COVID vaccines cause ADE or VED? Okay. What is ADE or VED? Okay. Antibody dependent enhancement or vaccine enhanced disease, which would cause a vaccinated person to have more severe disease if caught. Stock made this claim about 17 times. Okay. The answer is there is no evidence to support the claim a vaccinated person catches a more severe case of coronavirus. Okay? Antibody-dependent enhancement is extremely rare and occurs when certain antibodies make it easier for the virus to get into cells. According to the University of Nebraska physician Nada Fadul, ADE is associated with COVID-19 vaccine in July article published. No, Fadul addressed claims ADE associated with the COVID-19 vaccine in the July article published on the university's website. Fadul said, if the COVID-19 vaccine caused ADE, people who are vaccinated would have more severe disease. This is not happening. On the contrary, people who are vaccinated typically have very mild disease or none at all, Fadul said. Dr. Gabriel Bosslet said if Stock made these claims, he doesn't understand ADE or is purposely trying to mislead people. It doesn't happen with this vaccine. How do we know? It's quite simple. It doesn't happen with this vaccine because if it happened with this vaccine, people who were previously vaccinated when they got COVID-19 would get far sicker than if they never had been vaccinated at all. The hospital, through that wall, I guess she's indicating through a wall, would be filled with vaccinated people with severe disease, Bosslet told the news. So I guess he was next door to the hospital. Okay, that is not what we're seeing. Hospitals are not filled with vaccinated people. The hospitals are filled almost exclusively with people who have not been vaccinated. And so this notion of antibody-dependent enhancement sounds super smart because it does exist. But to say that it happens with this vaccine is either gross misunderstanding of the term in general or just frank disinformation to scare people. According to the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting Systems, the VAERS, there has not been a single case of ADE with the COVID-19 vaccine. Okay. And during this exchange on BGS's channel, I posted a link. I even posted the VAERS link so that he could get his numbers. He said, I don't know what the numbers are, but I can look. So we had to tell him, no, you don't have to look because here they are. There are none. So this is what we're dealing with. This is are the trolls who come to my channel, come into my comments, talking about what they're not going to do and, how I'm lying to people and go into BGS's comments and talk about how they're lying. I'm going to give you all of the links you need to look at. You go ahead and you go look at these links instead of going to the links that support your false claims about what this vaccine does and what happens and what doesn't happen. And some of this I don't expect you to know because it's higher level reading and it takes a bit of study, to kind of realize what's going on with this stuff. If you're not in this field, then, that's why you ask your doctor. That's why you ask your nurses, or you ask, your pharmacist, what information do you have on this before you end up choosing, what you want to do. But you should choose what you want to do based on good information, not on snake oil, not on a snake oil pamphlet. Don't do that to yourself. I don't understand this new age witchy pooism, vibrational energy, hotepism, and all of that. I mean, this, the conscious community that I grew up with, man, they were a lot smarter than these guys nowadays. I mean, these guys nowadays, I mean, they're just, I don't know, engaging in some, I don't know, crayon type, picture pages, romper roomish consciousness. If you're going to do it right. Okay, let's get on with this. Okay. Do the vaccines stop infections? Is it true that the vaccines do not stop infections? Stock made this claim about 18 minutes into the school board meeting when he said no vaccines ever stopped infection. Okay. I can't believe he made it through medical school. So here we go. We got all the sources here. Like I said, I'm gonna put the links up to each one of these sites in the end, and in the comments there. I mean, not the comments, but the description. Okay, the answer. Stock's claim that no vaccine ever stopped infection needs context. There isn't a single vaccine that is 100% efficacious, meaning they stop infection some of the time, but not all of the time. Okay? Okay. According to the Centers for Disease Control, all COVID-19 vaccines currently available in the United States are effective at preventing COVID-19, as seen in clinical trial settings, and research shows growing evidence of messenger RNA or mRNA COVID-19 vaccines offer similar protection in real-world conditions. But the vaccines aren't 100% effective. In a release from Pfizer BioNTech, the vaccine was 95.4% effective against COVID-19. Moderna announced the vaccine was greater than 90% has a greater than 90% efficacy against cases of COVID-19. Wow, this is written well. Let's see. And more than 95% against severe cases. The CDC reported the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was 66.3% effective in clinical trials. Okay, what's interesting about vaccine efficacy is that it doesn't function in a bubble. So vaccine efficacy is highly dependent upon how much infection you have in your community, Coley said. So when you have higher rates of infection in the community, the vaccines don't work as well. And then when the infection rates are lower, the vaccine efficacy in terms of preventing infection goes up. It also obviously is dependent on our behaviors. Bosley said stopping infection is not the main goal of the vaccine. We are not trying to eliminate the virus, he said. I don't think anyone thinks that that's going to be the case. The virus is with us for a long time. What we're trying to do is prevent hospitalizations and death. And these vaccines are as close to perfect at doing that as is humanly possible. Okay, that's important. Everybody's like, well, so-and-so got the vaccine, and I'm going to tell you an anecdotal story. They they still got sick. They got the vaccine and they still died. They got the vaccine. Well, that's probably a lie, but, they, are telling, people not to get vaccinated because, hey, you'll get sick anyway. So why not get sick without the vaccine and die from it? That's ignorant. That's ignorant as all get out. This is to prevent you from going to the hospital and prevent you from dying. And as BGS said, in the big picture, to keep you working. Because don't you want people working? Don't you want to go to to the restaurants again and be able to get your food and all of that? Because people are out here raising hell because they can't go to the restaurant on the weekend and because they can't continue to, floss and, do Facebook flaunting, Everybody wants to show themselves going on trips and spending money and, living their best life. If you want to live your best life, then you got to do the work. So let's move on down. Of nearly 3 million people fully vaccinated in Indiana, only 185 have been hospitalized with COVID-19. That is 0.06%. Deaths are even lower. Okay, it says we have not lost anybody at our hospital that has been vaccinated, said Dr. Rob Kleinsteiver, a pulmonologist who serves as medical director of pulmonary and respiratory services at Hancock Regional University. The hospital is in the same county where Dr. Stock is trying to convince the school board that vaccines don't work. The pulmonologist says Stock's claim that vaccines do not stop infection is dangerous. He says all people now dying of COVID at the hospital, some as young as 35 years old, share the same story. These people dying now are in the prime of their life. And the only thing they have in common is they are unvaccinated, Kleinsteiver told 13 News, adding that he believes Stock's comments to the school board were irresponsible. I'd like to extend an invitation to him to walk with me through my ICU and hear the stories about each one of these patients who are unvaccinated. See, these people who are out here peddling this snake oil and giving all of this anecdotal evidence, they would not take that tour. None of them want to walk through an ICU and look at these people. None of them want to walk through some of these hospitals with people who are out in the hallways because they didn't have places to put them. People were treating them in the hallways. People unable to breathe on their own. That's ridiculous, man. It pisses me off to hear these people come out and make these claims. And, I really think they should be in jail. Okay, so let's move on to ivermectin. Is ivermectin an approved treatment for COVID-19? So here we go into the vitamins and all of the other stuff. People were just reaching for things. Again, this guy, okay, I'm just going to give you the information. Is ivermectin and vitamin D and or zinc an approved treatment for COVID-19? Stock made this claim about 20 minutes into the video when he said he had successfully treated 15 patients with this cocktail of drugs, vitamins and minerals. We hear this a lot. A cocktail of vitamins and minerals and, few drugs. Magic salves and, essentially snake oil. Okay, let's go down here. The answer. No, that treatment plan has not been approved by the FDA or the Centers for Disease Control, and studies to determine if the drugs and supplements work are inconclusive. Okay, ivermectin is not approved for the use in treating or preventing COVID-19 in humans. The FDA warned ivermectin tablets also approved at very specific doses for some parasitic worms, not viruses. There are topical and there are topical on the skin formations of head lice and skin conditions like rosacea. Ivermectin is not an antiviral, like I said, for treating viruses, according to the FDA. Okay. Coley says zinc and vitamin D can be used to bulk up the immune function, but there isn't scientific evidence that exists to date that supports the use of those two drugs along with ivermectin to treat COVID. Now, you notice they said that zinc and vitamin D are drugs. Okay. A few clinical trials have explored the possibility that supplements may be effective, and unfortunately, most of the evidence is unconvincing, added Harvard University's Dr. Robert Schmeling, specifically mentioning zinc and vitamin D in his analysis. So we should be made of Stock's, what should be made of Stock's statement? That he successfully treated 15 COVID-19 patients with ivermectin, vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin D and zinc cocktail, and none of those patients were hospitalized. Not much, according to Boslett. 15 patients, I mean, if I took 15 patients in my clinic who all came in with COVID-19, the stats are that none of those people would be likely to progress to severe disease, the ICU doctor said. According to data from the Indiana State Department of Health and the Ringstrife Institute, about 794,000 Indiana residents have been diagnosed with COVID-19 as of August 11, and 63,628 of those Hoosiers required hospitalization for their infection, about 8% of all COVID cases in the state. Based on that percentage, roughly 1 in every 15 Hoosiers diagnosed with COVID-19 will be expected to be hospitalized. Although it would not be unusual for there to be 0 hospitalizations within a group of 15 patients, low vitamin D levels have been associated with more severe COVID disease. But when we've given vitamin D to people with COVID, it doesn't tend to make their course better. We've studied this, Boslett told the news. I don't think anybody should ever be vitamin D deficient, but if not, it's not going to cure your COVID. And if you're counting on that, you're sorely mistaken. As far as ivermectin, Verify has investigated this issue before, according to this article, and the drug is not currently recommended for the treatment of COVID-19, even by the company that manufactures it. Last month, drug company Merck, which makes the brand name of ivermectin, told Verify it stands by its February statement that said there is no meaningful evidence that the drug helps patients with COVID-19. Meanwhile, with the World Health Organization and the Infectious Disease Society of America advise, according to the drug outside of clinical trials, according to the IDSA, well-designed, adequately powered, and well-executed clinical trials are needed to inform decisions on treating COVID with ivermectin. Okay, does COVID-19 vaccine, does the vaccine not provide a benefit? Okay, is it true that people who have recovered from COVID-19 get no benefit from vaccinations at all? Stock made this claim about 21 minutes into the video. The answer is no. A recent study in the United States shows individuals who had COVID-19 and who have not received the COVID-19 vaccine are at a higher risk of contracting the virus again. Okay. Dr. Stock said he provided the school board with a study that shows people who have recovered from COVID-19 infection actually get no benefit from vaccination at all. No reduction in symptoms, no reduction in hospitalizations, and suffer 2 to 4 times the rate of side effects if they are subsequently vaccinated. After reviewing the study cited by Stock, It is not clear what research he's referencing, but a new study out of Kentucky released by the CDC in early August shows residents who had COVID-19 and who did not get a vaccine are 2.3 times more likely to be reinfected with the virus. All the studies that people who previously had COVID-19, when you measure antibody levels before and after the vaccine, it goes up, said Bosley. So I have no clue where Dr. Stock's data comes from, and frankly, that defies all logic. The ICU doctor said he is skeptical of other doctors who claim to know more than state and federal health agencies. What I would tell people is, if you hear stuff like this that runs completely counter to everything that the scientists and physicians have been telling you for the last 18 months, you need to talk to your doctor and bounce this stuff off of other sources. You need to go and talk to other physicians, not just people who are going to confirm your prior beliefs. The same thing I said. I've been saying this all along. Okay? I've been saying this the whole time. So that's all of the information that, in a nutshell, concerning Dr. Stock. And I don't know about you guys. I mean, I knew it. I knew that this guy was, out here just reaching for information that would confirm his biased position. And it's unfortunate, but that's what we're up against. And we've got people like this on TV. We've got people like this on the radio. And, all I can say is, at the end of this, after going through all of that, vindication. Vindication. I feel vindicated. And I feel like I've done a good job presenting information to you guys, a good enough job to where you can make a good decision with good information about whether you're going to take this vaccine. So I've done my due diligence, and that's what good people in the field are trying to do. They're trying to do their due diligence. They're trying to give you good information, not sway you onto the rocks, like a siren in Greek mythology. We're not trying to lead you astray. I don't understand well, I do understand where it's coming from, but I'm not going to drag this out. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. I hope this helps. You guys let me know if the absence of the music was a good thing or if you want the music back. I kind of use it for pacing. But I enjoyed you guys. You guys have a good night. I really appreciated it. Hope you guys got something good out of this. And shout out to BGS and all the rest of the guys in the Manosphere. And you guys keep on doing the good work. Dr. Tia-san, Green Gorilla. You guys go out and go check out their channels, Art New Style, Art of Ibmore, Charles Faulkner Initiative. You guys go out and support these guys, man. They need your support, and they're all trying to do good work and trying to be the leaders that our community needs. Appreciate you guys coming out, and guess I'm gonna take it on to the rack.
I feel like a motherless child alone. come home.